So if you're over 30, work a busy ass schedule full time, and you still struggling with that big ass belly, I want you to know it's not your fault. They lied to you. They told you to cut out carbs, do more ab crunches, burn it off on the treadmill and do more cardio. Yet, summer after summer, you still at the pool with a t-shirt on because your body is too flabby underneath. Today, we are not only gonna talk about why you are where you are, but I'm gonna teach you my simple six-pack system to help you get a ripped six-pack as fast as possible. Stick around to the end. I'm even gonna give you a free gift that'll help you accelerate your progression so that you can be able to be shredded, confident, and feel like the best version of yourself. So before we get into how to change, we gotta address the myths, the things that people tell you are the key to getting a six-pack. And the first one is that abs are made in the kitchen, which is a bunch of bullshit. Yes, you do need to lower your body fat enough to see your abs, but if you don't have actual abs underneath that fat, it's not gonna fucking matter in the first place. So we're not only gonna talk about how to clean up your diet, but also how to train effectively so that you actually have abs to see once the fat comes off. There's 3 ingredients that you need. 1 is you need your nutrition on point. 2, you need a specific training protocol for actually building thick, visible, prominent abs. And then lastly, you need the right mindset. Nothing's gonna work unless you have the mindset to stay consistent long enough to see those abs pop. So I already know when it comes to nutrition, you are doing what we call the healthy choices diet. The healthy choices diet is probably the worst diet that you can be on. Why? Because healthy choices means nothing. It means that you are essentially winging it. Winging it is what got your ass fat in the first place. You're essentially creating a plan based on your assumption of what's healthy for you, but your assumptions got you fat. Think about it. You didn't gain fat in your midsection on purpose. You did it by accident based on the habits that you've been practicing year after year. So taking your own advice is the equivalent of driving somewhere you've never been without a roadmap, telling yourself, hey, I know where I'm going. No, you fucking don't. So you gotta get out of this mindset that just eating salads, just cleaning up your diet, just eating healthy is enough. What you need, guys, is to get yourself a scoreboard, right? Because when you look at nutrition, it's a game of calories in versus calories out. So just when you watch a basketball game, they're keeping score to know what team is ahead or what team is behind. You need to be keeping score when it comes to your diet so that you can really understand from a caloric standpoint how many calories you need versus how many you need to actually burn to put yourself in that deficit. So think about it like this. Your fat is like reserve energy tank. And what we actually want to do is we want your body to start pulling from its reserve tank. How do you do that? You limit the intake every single day and you slowly start to create a deficit with activity and consistent tracking of what you're consuming every single day. Now, I would say a good place to start is to get a baseline based off your basal metabolic rate, the calories your body burns at rest. So find out your BMR, which is simple. Just Google this. You can just say, hey, Google, what's my BMR? And you can give it your stats. It's gonna ask for your age, height, and weight, and then you can get a BMR. You can even go to ChatGPT, and that can give you a BMR reading as well. But once you get this number, create a slight deficit from the BMR. And this is important because if you just eat at the BMR level and train, you're gonna see somewhat of a change. But what I found is most guys over 30 who got a desk job, who sitting behind the wheel all day, who don't really move other than in the gym, they typically need a more aggressive deficit. So I would say subtract maybe like 200 calories from your BMR. Let's just say my BMR was 1,800 calories. All I have to do to start putting myself in that nutritional deficit with my calories is subtract 200 and we at 1,600 calories. Now what you do, once you get here, insert this into a macronutrient ratio. A macronutrient ratio is the amount of carbs, fats, and protein that you're gonna consume in this deficit to ensure your body performs and looks a certain way when the fat comes off. We wanna track the macros and not just the calories because we wanna get lean, not just lose weight. Losing weight can be a loss of everything, right? The fat, the muscle, the water, right? You can cut a motherfucking arm off and you lose some weight, right? But that's not gonna have your body sculpt, shape, and get more defined so that you actually look more impressive at the beach. A good example of this would be DJ Khaled. Shout out to DJ Khaled a few years ago. You know what I'm saying? He was out here winning big with Weight Watchers. He lost like 50 pounds with them. If you look at his before and after picture, his body looks exactly the same in both pictures. In one picture, he all big and round, and then in the after picture, he's still round, just less big. If you want to be out here looking like DJ Khaled, hey, fuck this macro shit, man. Just track your calories. But I don't want to look like DJ Khaled, and I know most of my clients don't. So what we do is we actually track the macros because the macros ensure that you get lean. You keep the muscle, right, while actually losing the fat. And the reason why you want to ensure that you're looking for the macronutrients as your main metric to target is because you want to get majority of your nutrients in this deficit from protein. And then depending on your lifestyle, like what kind of work you do, how active you are, things of that sort, you want to utilize the rest of your nutrients, the carbs and fats. Carbs and fats are energy sources. Carbs burn fast, right? Your body gets that energy very quickly. Fats is slow digesting, and your body gets that much slower. So what you want to do is go with most of your calories coming from protein because this is insurance against muscle loss, right? So you keep your muscle. It's really good for satiety, right? When you eat a high protein diet, it's the most satiating. So you're less likely to get hungry in that deficit. And more importantly, I would say the thermic effect, because when you eat protein, your body will burn more calories because it takes more energy to break down proteins. So this is gonna be your ace in the hole. What I have my clients do, this is the golden ratio when it comes to fat loss. Mind you, I've been doing this shit 10 years now. True and tested from hundreds of guys. I help get six-pack abs. 40% of your nutrients should come from protein. That essentially means that you can distribute the carbs and fats depending on what's conducive to your life. But really, when it comes to carbs, I would say usually about 30% is good. You don't need a lot of carbs in a deficit. And then on top of that, the fats, about 30%. Some of you may want to look a little bit deeper into your hormone profile to determine what this ratio should be. The carbs and fats typically can go up or down depending on testosterone levels, A1C levels, cholesterol levels. I help my clients with in-depth blood work analysis, and then we build their macro ratio based off that. If you want more help with that, you can apply for a 10-minute shred session, see if maybe we can help you too. But I would say generally, most guys, unless you have some hormonal issues, you can do pretty good with 30% carb, 30% fats, and then 40% protein. Take your calorie count, plug it into the 40, 30, 30, and then whether you're using a calorie tracking app, there's hundreds of them out there. MyFitnessPal is a good one that I used to use before I made the Corey Armstrong fitness app that me and my clients use. You could take 1,600 calories, go to Google, say, I'm taking 1,600 calories, 40% protein, 30% carb, 30% fats. Google will spit out what that actually equates to in grams. Because what you want to do is you want to convert this to the gram, and that's what you want to track every day. You want to take your calories, convert it to macros, and get these in grams. ChatGPT can help you. MyFitnessPal has a section in there that can help you with that. But essentially, once you get those numbers, you just focus on hitting that every day. It's a game of making your favorite foods hit your numbers, right? This is where The whole bullshit about you can't eat certain things to get lean is nonsense. Some foods are more macro friendly, so you may have to make sacrifices to hit your numbers, but now you can practice the nutritional part with confidence every day. Now, let's move on, guys and gals, to the training to get six-pack abs. So I gotta erase some of this. I think the number one misnomer that people have is that they can just do a bunch of crunches and sit-ups to actually get abs. But here's the thing. I know guys who will fucking brag about the shit that they can do. They can do 1,000 crunches. They can do 100 sit-ups back to back, but they never have abs. And that's because really, when it comes to sit-ups, these don't even work your abs. It works the hip flexors. So most of the time, you're not targeting the muscle the right way. If you want me to show you the movements, type six-pack in the comments, and me and my team will get ready for that video for y'all. But you gotta make sure you're focusing on the right movements. Crunches work the abs, but they're not a strength movement. They're endurance movement. When you look at muscle growth, the thing that builds the most muscle are movements that you can add resistance to. Because resistance is what your muscles actually respond to. You tell your body that it needs to move a bigger load, and so it responds by giving you more muscle. So what you need is you need moves where you can add resistance to your ab training. Things like cable crunches, one of my favorites, because you can really load that weight up and put yourself in a fixed position where you can only target the abs. A lot of guys fuck this movement up, right? I got some tutorial videos that show proper form. Versions of the sit-up can deactivate the hip flexors, activate the abs, and add weight, like weighted Roman chair sit-ups, right? That's a movement that really emphasizes abdominal contraction. Deactivating the hips when you do it right, and you can load it up with a lot of weight so you can progressively overload those abdominal muscles. Another good one that's the opposite in that it targets more of the lower abdominals will be hanging leg raises. With hanging leg raises, you have to be very strong. You have to hold your weight and lift your legs past your waistline to bring your pelvis close to your ribs. That's when the abs contract. Your legs act as a weight because they're levered. If you extend further from the body, you get more resistance to the abs. If you guys want that video, me showing you how to do the shit with proper form, just type six-pack in the comments. You want most of your ab training to be movements like this, and you can add and progress with weight like you would do with a bicep curl or a chest press so that you can progressively overload the muscles. And you want most of your ab training, the predominance of it, to be these type of movements. But it's not just about progressing, right? Because most guys will see this video and they be like, all right, I'm gonna do these movements maybe a few days a week, maybe like 3 sets of 10 each. And you are correct, it will help. But I'm about to show you how to put that shit on steroids by adding another aspect, training volume. You move more weight for more reps and more sets. If the weights, reps, and sets continue to go up, you build more predominant, thicker, stronger abs. But another thing you can do to trigger more muscle growth in the abs is you can increase training frequency, right? Frequency is an extremely powerful way to get a great set of abs. When you think about frequency, it's like how many days of the week are you training the abs? Here's the cool thing about the abs, like the calves, muscles that have a lot of endurance, meaning you can train them pretty much every day because they get utilized every day. But what you'll have to do is you'll have to vary the intensity. You won't be able to increase your cable crunches by doing cable crunches every single day of the week, right? But you can do a staggered approach. Monday, do high strength movements like a cable crunch, maybe all 3 of these movements on Monday. Tuesday, you can hit your abs again. But here you would use more endurance type movements. Movements that continue to send the signal to your muscles to adapt and change. Now, this is a whole different topic for a whole different video, but the reason this works is because of something called muscle protein synthesis, which is when you break down the muscle fibers and you basically got 24 to 48 hours of the muscle building signal to be elevated. You get the protein into the muscle to repair it. So you stimulate muscle protein synthesis here, and then again on Tuesday, Wednesday, you can train for strength again. And then Thursday, you can train for endurance again. One of the six-pack secrets is to train with varying intensity multiple days a week, because the abs are one of those muscles that have a lot of fast twitch muscle fibers. You can essentially train it almost every day, just as long as you're not training for strength every day. Stagger it, strength, endurance, and essentially go from movements that require resistance, like these movements over here, to movements that are just body weight, like crunches, reverse crunches, planks, bicycles, cross crunches. If you guys want all of this laid out in a blueprint so you don't have to think about it, I'm gonna attach in the description full layout of exactly how you do this for the week, with the movements to focus on, as well as the sets, reps, and proper form. It's called my Simple Six-Pack System. You guys will get free access to that just for pulling up to the video. The last thing I want to talk about is the mindset and approach getting six-pack abs with. After coaching for a decade now, right? Like, I'm essentially in year 9, but I'm counting myself because I've been in shape since 2015, right? And being my first client is coaching so many people, I've learned that like most people suck, right? And it's not their fault. It's because they've been told to focus on their goals, right? Focusing on your goals sounds like it makes sense in theory, but this is the fast track to discouragement. When you think about where you're wanting to be, if that's your predominant thought process every day, all you're gonna see is how far you are from the goal, right? You're gonna see distance between yourself. This is you out here fat. And then you're gonna be looking at the goal of wanting to be ripped. Every day that you're not there, all that distance is gonna become a discouragement for you, because it's gonna feel like it's so far away, right? I would say you guys gotta stop focusing on the goal. Yes, you need the goal, and we can break down how to set goals properly in a separate video. Don't think about it. You actually wanna ignore it once you set it and just have it in the background. Instead, the whole premise of this video was to break down that y'all start focusing on the habits. That's what I just broke down through all this time, is the habits that get you ripped. When you think about every day you do these habits, you get encouraged. Every day you check the box on hitting your macros, hitting your targets with that, you hit your workout, right? You see your strength going up, and you do additional things to maybe build a bigger deficit, like getting more steps, intermittent fasting, showing proper recovery and sleep. Every time you check one of those boxes and you track that shit, you start to see yourself getting closer, right? You start to see a path. And when you focus on the path every single day, that becomes the victory for you. This is how you go from a motherfucking loser like everybody else to a winner, because winners are just more consistent for longer time horizons. If you need more help, in the description of this video, I'm gonna drop free access to my Simple Six-Pack System. Hope that helps you. Holla at your boy later. Peace.